Hi there, Jeep owners. Today in your 2017 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install Curt's base plate. And this is what our base plate looks like when it's installed. You will be able to see the entire cross tube and base plate underneath the bumper, but I actually like the way it looks. It kind of adds an aggressive look to the front of your Jeep. Makes it look like you're doing something special with this one. On each end, you're going to have your attachment point for your tabs where you'll connect your tow bar, as well as a location for your safety cables to attach to. Now, unlike some of the other manufacturers, they provide a mounting location for your wiring and your breakaway switch for your braking system. The Curt one here doesn't. You'll have to provide your own, but we do have no drill brackets available here at etrailer, and that's what we used right here. We often use these for hitches for getting the wiring mounted up in the back. It works out perfectly on Curt's base plate here because it sticks out in the front just almost like a front hitch, and we can clamp it right on there without having to do any modifications to the base plate or our vehicle, and it gives us plenty of mounting locations here. When you're ready to use your base plate, you'll insert the tabs. These simply slide into place and then twist it until it locks in. This will provide us with an attachment point that'll connect to any Curt or Blue Ox tow bar. Now, if you have another brand, such as Roadmaster, we do have adapters available here at eTrailer, so you can make those other manufacturers' tow bars work with this base plate as well. When you're ready to hook up your tow bar, we'll bring the end over towards our base plate. The three lugs will mesh with our base plate. We can then take our pin here and we can slide it through. You can go whichever way you like. I usually prefer to go outside in. And then we'll secure it with the pin on the other side. We'll hook up the other arm the same way. You'll then want to hook your safety chains up. They snap right into your base plate. And then if you have any other components that is part of your flat tow setup, which most likely you will have, you'll want to hook those up as well, and that typically includes your diode wiring and your supplemental braking system's breakaway cable. Now, on your motorhome side, when hooking up your safety cables, you do want to make sure you cross them. You can see the cross that we've got here. So the driver's side on our Jeep connects to the passenger side on the motorhome and vice versa for the other side. And that'll create a cradle here at the front. So in the event we had a catastrophic disconnect where our tow bar slid out of the receiver, this would keep it up off the pavement, keeping it from digging down in it. We'll begin our installation at the front of our Jeep by removing the undershield here. There are 4 pins across the front that we're going to need to remove to get it off. To remove these, you'll take a flat-bladed screwdriver and you'll see that there's like an opening, there's notches around it. Slide your screwdriver blade in there, and then you can kind of just give it a little bit of a twist, and then you can kind of just pop it down. A trim panel tool will also work. And once you get the center popped out like that, the whole pin will just pull out of there. We'll repeat that to remove the remaining pins. Now on the back side of our undershield, you're going to have some small tabs that come up, and there's another pin here on the passenger side, and there's one just like it on the driver's side. We're going to remove these as well. And these are the same type of pin, so you'll remove it the same way. Upon removing that last pin, the panel will be free, so we can take this off and set it aside. With that panel out of the way, it's going to reveal the back side of our front bumper here. If you have fog lights, you'll want to make sure you disconnect the connectors that go to those. There's going to be one on each side. That's this connector here. Just press in on the release tab, and then you can just pull the connector away to disconnect it. We'll disconnect the other one on the other side as well. Just to the outside of where we disconnected our connector for our fog lights, we're going to have our bolts for our bumper that we're going to need to remove. You'll see that the studs where they come through here, and here's the nut, and there's one located right below it. And this is the frame rail right here. Just on the other side of the frame rail, we're gonna have 2 more studs and 2 more nuts on it just like this. So that's 4 on this side, and there's also 4 located over on the other side. We're gonna remove all of those with an 18mm socket. You might need a swivel and an extension if you're planning on using an impact. And we're just going to get up on there. Just to the outside of where we disconnected our fog light connector, we're going to have some studs where our bumper beam passes through and some nuts securing the bumper beam on. We'll need to remove these nuts. There's one here, one just below it, and then this is the frame rail here. Just on the other side of the frame rail, you're gonna find 2 more of those. So that's 4 on this side, and there's also 4 on the other side. We're gonna remove these nuts using an 18mm socket. You'll likely need a swivel and an extension if you're planning on using an impact gun. After you remove the 2 nuts, you're gonna have a spacer plate behind it. You'll wanna take that off. And then what I like to do is take one of these nuts and just thread it on there just about a turn. And then we're gonna remove the rest of the nuts on this side and all the ones on the other side. We're just putting that on there for about a turn just so the bumper beam can't slide off on accident while we're removing the rest of the hardware. So now that we've got the rest of those nuts removed, I went ahead and removed that last one that we had put on there hand tight. That was just our safety nut. We can now just pull the fascia away from the front of the vehicle. We're gonna be going pretty much just straight out. The studs like to catch up on the little slots, so you might have to jiggle it a little bit to get it to release out of there. We can then just set this aside where it won't get damaged. We can now take our base plate and we're gonna line it up into position. We'll need to temporarily secure it into place. You could use some clamps and clamp it in position, however you want to do it. We want to line up the hole here at the bottom of our base plate, on the side plate here, with the middle hole in the frame. The upper holes will line up with the frame here as it goes towards the rear. So instead of clamping it, since we're going to be feeding hardware in here momentarily, I'm just going to stick a screwdriver in on one side, and we're going to do the same thing over on the other side. And that'll hold it up so we can get some of our hardware inserted. So we'll now take some of the hardware that comes in our kit that we're going to be feeding through those same holes. You'll have a large fish wire here and a large carriage bolt. You're going to have some smaller ones in the kit, but we want the large ones. We also want the larger spacer, and you can make sure that your carriage bolt fits on there. These are going to feed through the openings that we slid our screwdriver in. So what we're going to do is we're just going to temporarily support this on this side. We're going to take our fish wire here. We're going to push it through the base plate and through the hole until it comes out the other side. And you can even take your screwdriver and temporarily put it back in there if you wanted to. And then here on the other side, we're going to grab our coiled end and our spacer. We'll first slide the spacer on, and then we're going to take our carriage bolt here and we're going to thread it onto the coiled end. Make sure we got this hole lined up, and then just pull our fish wire until our bolt comes out through the inside. We're going to go ahead and put some red Loctite on the end of the bolt and then secure it with a serrated flange nut. Once we get this side started, we're going to go ahead and get the other side installed as well, because we don't want to fully tighten it down just yet. So now that we've got our hardware loosely secured, take your base plate and we're going to tip it up to make it level with the top of our frame. See how we've got it kind of just straight in line there. So now that we've got that hardware secured and our base plate parallel with our frame here, we can take a 17/32 drill bit, and we're going to use our base plate here as a template, and we're going to drill right on in. We'll then repeat that for each remaining hole. Now that we've got our holes drilled out, we can take the spacer block that comes in our kit. We're just going to slide that into position. That's just going to kind of rest right there between our base plate and our frame. We'll then take the smaller coiled wire that comes in our kit, and this is going to poke through the opening in your base plate, through the hole that we just drilled, and then we're going to angle that towards the front of our Jeep. I also chose to go in the rear hole. I prefer that one first because if you do the front one first, then you're kind of fighting past that hardware when you're trying to route stuff through. We'll then just work our coiled wire down through the opening here at the front. The bottom one's a little bit bigger, so that's be an easier one to use. Once you get that out, we can take the spacer that comes in our kit. This is a smaller one. It's going to match our carriage bolt. And these are the smaller carriage bolts. We're going to thread it onto our coiled wire, feed each piece of hardware in individually, and then we can pull it back through the openings until it comes back out and passes through our base plate, spacer, and frame. Once we get it pulled through, you want to kind of twist it around in there a few times because we want to make sure we get the carriage bolts all the way through the spacer block, just like that. Once we've got that all the way through, we can take our coiled wire off. And I'm kind of putting some side pressure on the bolt to prevent it from falling back in the frame. We can put our Loctite on there and then follow that up with a serrated flange nut. And you can actually push on the spacer to kind of get that side pressure. Now that we got that one started, we'll just repeat that for the remaining hole on this side and then do the same procedures over on the other side. We can now go back and tighten the hardware we just installed with a 3/4 inch socket. Then once you have all your hardware tightened down, we can go back and torque it to the specifications outlined in our instructions. We can then take the permanent safety cables that come included with our kit, and we're going to wrap this around the beam here across the middle, and we're going to slide our hook on the end there. We're also going to slide it onto our base plate there, and then we're going to bring the other end back around the frame, just like there, and then we can reattach this end onto the hook here as well. Once we have both ends hooked on, we can tighten down the quick link and then we'll repeat this procedure on the other side as well. So now that we've got our base plate fully installed, it's torqued down, we've got all of our safety cables and everything installed on there, we're ready to reinstall our bumper and components in reverse order of how we removed them. There is going to be some trimming on the undershield a little bit, but I highly recommend at this point to hold off on reinstalling those components and finish up the rest of your flat toe accessories that you might have, which includes your diode wiring and your supplemental braking system. A lot of those components are going to be easier to route all of your wiring up here in the front while you've got your bumper off. So we're going to go ahead and complete the rest of those components, and once we've got those on, we'll come back and show you how to trim out that lower shield upon your reinstallation. So now that we've got all the rest of our flat toe components installed, we went ahead and put the bumper back on in reverse order of how we removed it. We talked about how the lower panel here needed to be trimmed in order to reinstall it. And you can see here where we've trimmed, you can find some markings in your instructions that will kind of indicate it, although I found the best way is just kind of hold this panel up here and then make your marks and then see if it's going to fit. I also put a hole here towards the center. That's going to be for all of our electrical connectors. That's just going to vary depending on where you decide to mount yours. I decided to mount mine there. So we'll just grab our panel now and reinstall it. You're going to have to kind of rotate around the base plate like that. And then once you've got it rotated around, I find it easier if you install the back pins first, because those one on each side will hold it up, making it easier to install the rest of your pins. We'll just slide our pin in, push in the center to lock it in place, and then we'll do that for all the remaining pins. And we'll insert all of our pins across the front as well. And that completes our installation of Curt's base plate on our 2017 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited.